Welcome again, Keepers of Light, and I call you that because you are just that, Keepers of Light. So, the reason I'm smiling like this is because of one of you. One of you responded to a comment of mine when I was talking about being cute and called me beautiful, and it went to my head. So, okay, so what I wanted to say here is that beauty in itself is a concept, and so in many ways the minute that I received the comment, it just went straight to my head, and and it triggered all the different ways in which I had perceived beauty in my life, and how fortunate I feel to be able to have come in and evolved into a definition of beauty that includes loving myself at that level where I am accepting of myself and able to just enjoy being who I am. And in many ways, you all are helping me because by continuing to show up in the way that you are, it is helping me to just connect more deeply into that sense of beingness that I have come here to demonstrate as a purpose of mine to help in this evolutionary period of time of human ascension, humankind's ascension. So thank you. And it kind of also brings up the topic of beauty as a whole, when you see how we all just fall in love with one another. And, and on the one hand, you can understand how one person is not, considering one another person beautiful and the other person is. And then you're wondering, like, where's the truth? Like, what's the truth in there? And the truth is that both are true. And the truth is always that there's so many there are so many different perspectives. My do not disturb didn't work. So there's so many different definitions of not just beauty. We exist in a realm where everything is defined with a different definition, and and okay, so I just had a flash about like all the different countries, and I'm thinking about how, like, with depend upon where you're at, location based wise too, you're gonna find like there's differences within, the belief structures and the thought patternings, and what people are enjoying, what people are doing, what people. I mean, really, when you consider the nature of existence here on this planet, there's such a variation as to beauty being exemplified that in many ways, to not be able to see through the illusion uh, of of understanding that when a person is demonstrating to you that they are not themselves finding you beautiful, that it is their problem. No, that it is they're coming from their point of view. They're coming from their own energetic system of beingness, what that is composed of. And in many ways, this is something that we are all learning how to develop a sense of within ourselves when we are interacting with one another, in that way that it will become a more cooperative environment to be in when we are all learning to understand that when we are engaging with one another, we are engaging within the meeting of energetic structures. So it's not just like, energetic like structures of buildings, but energetic signatures within all of us. Like, we all have uniqueness coming through us, but all of it is really composed of all of the differing um, beliefs and what thoughts that have turned into beliefs and repeating over and over again. But what's happening right now is like our energetic signatures are actually changing. My energetic signature did shift recently, which is why I become more noticeable. And so too does yours change, and so too is everyone's changing. I mentioned this in the last video about how, you know, astrology itself is impacting the astrological changes themselves are and shifts are always impacting us, but we are at a period of time where there's more of a um, dramatic uh, shifting going on, and it is being helped by the planets. There is a cosmic reorganization that is impacting the earth and so impacting its people. And what when we're talking about ascension, we're actually talking about uh, a shifting within our energetic signatures. And this, in many ways, is something that will make sense to become aware of in that way that is necessary for that sense of empowerment that is needed for the next steps forward. I had written some notes over the weekend about certain topics to talk about, and I just kind of feel so scattered because it it's I receive like a lot of downloads a lot, and I don't always have time to write, particularly on to write or even to record. Mostly, I don't really have that much time to record and over the weekend, so I kind of try and like pack all that information in. I'm like, oh God, I gotta, you know, share this later, share this later. So I'm just gonna look at some of the things that I wrote to see about what it is, because there is a message that's trying to come through here, and I can sense what it is, but there's a leading and building up to it that I can also do good, do well to refer to my notes for. So give me a second. So yeah, so there is like so how to build this. Okay, so if we're considering energy, then we're also kind of considering that there's a set amount of energy within yourself that you within a day-to-day basis allow to have that energy flow out of you or allow energy to flow into you. And this is like composed of you, all the things that you're doing when you're going out to work and interacting with other people, and when you're running your errands, and when you're whatever it is that you do with your time, whatever it is that you're doing, you're expending energy. And that's why, like, at the end of the day, where you're like, I will say to my husband, like, oh God, I don't have any more energy to do anything. And that just means like I've allowed a lot of energy to flow outside of me, to flow from me, and likely have not balanced the energy to come in to me, energies that I am supposed to be receiving. I mean, it's the same thing with money too. It's kind of like, you know, um, how much energy, the amount of money that you're making depends upon how much energy you're allowing to flow outwards. But we also have to allow that same you have to allow energy to also come in. Um, and oftentimes, how we're designed as human beings is that what we give out, we will receive in multiple um, in a multiplied effect. We will receive um, more energy coming into us, and those are like blessings, and that would be abundance, and that would be money, and that would be whatever it is that you are wanting and desiring, because what you receive is within the element of what you are focusing on as your main desires, as your main desires. So what's been going on, and I've been talking and I've said this before, is that learning how to balance your energy field is really important in these moments. And it's more so important now than ever before because there's not no longer going to be the reliance that you have to those elements of safety and security that we once had. And in many ways, what this whole talk here is leading to is about it was about sovereignty in the last video, but in this video, it's more so about how you are your own leader, um, how there is a shifting going on in that way that the bigger the picture from the past used to be that leadership would be on in the hands of the few, how the few and then the many would be led. And now that there's like this restructuring of energies, which is also affected by the astrology, by the way, and that's like another topic that maybe I'll hit on once I finish this thought here. So um, there's an interruption. Okay, so right now we are in this process of learning how to take control of our energetic systems. We are now becoming leaders of ourselves because we are learning how to control how much energy we're spending and how much energy we're letting out, how much energy we're allowing in. And once we really learn how to ground into that, and this is really just a process of like shadow working, process of like releasing all of those aspects of concepts of reality which would have had us in the past stuck in cycles that would be repeating cycles, such things as living from this aspect of always being in fear and allowing fear to be the guide in our lives, allowing revenge and vengeance and retribution to be, all of these concepts which really are only designed to keep our energy flowing outward so that we're not recapturing that sense of power empowerment by recapturing and bringing in the energetic field that of blessings that was designed for us to receive. We are in this period of time where we will be receiving so many blessings, but we have to be willing to let go that which is no longer working. We have to be able to let go of concepts which are more so illusions that are keeping us in this sense of entrapment. And now I've gone off in a tangent. Astrology, I'm just going to go there. With the astrology, we've got like, oh, you know what? Okay, so I'm being brought back to finishing. Okay, so I'm being brought back to finishing the shifts, talking about the shifts. So it used to be that because we're allowing so much energy to flow outside of us and into the hands of those few who then now have more of our focus of attention, then they get to then um, keep that attention on them and then allow they use that energy, what they're doing, they use that energy to flow outwards and creating what it is that they're wanting to create. The issue with that is that we're talking about people who themselves are living in the shadows of their beingness. They're the ones who have been more sold into the concept of self-preservation and survivalism, in that deeply egoic mind based ener- ener- in that egoic mind based thought system and belief systems of beingness that we are ready to leave behind. There are many who really will remain within that plane of existence. And that is all good because each soul does have its own mission to, its own contract to live out within its incarnate within its incarnation. And so the idea is for us to understand that in order for us to actually evolve and allow ourselves to move into what is opening up as a opportunity, is to, in these moments when the energies themselves are shifting, when things are collapsing, when the veil is being lifted and we're seeing truths, to no longer allow ourselves to get into the trap of engaging in these concepts that would draw us back into believing as though we are victims in this cycle of creation of realities that we would not wish to support. Okay. So when it comes to the astrology, it's that we are, there's a cosmic shift in that all the planetary, there are planetary changes that are helping the earth to evolve. And as they are helping the earth to evolve, they're also evolving us. And so it will be that you are, if you are very sensitive, that you will be experiencing differences within, you will be experiencing this with your body. Like you, the more sensitive you are, the more you're going to be able to pick up on like the differences in the vibrations that are coming into your bodies. A lot of this has to deal with the sun and the planets. I mean, we're in Pluto in Aquarius. Like for the next 20 years, Pluto's going to be significantly impacting us. So if you're into astrology, look up where your Pluto is at, and you know there's astrologers who are much better than me. I mean, there, yeah, you can find information yourself, but what I would recommend is for you to, if you were just to kind of like look at it at a basic level, is that where your Pluto is at in your astrology, what house it's in, there you're going to be experiencing the most transformative changes in your life. And that's because Pluto is energetically going to be pushing you into releasing those very same energies that I'm speaking of, that you have now have an opportunity. So it's like this pocket of time is opening up for us to let go, like all of the stuff that would either keep us engaged in the old illusion of survivalism, or to let go of that, so that now we are allowing ourselves to feel more and to be more empowered, and to, in the process of being more empowered, to accept the gifts that we are, I want to say, entitled to receiving, that we are to be receiving because of just the nature of how things are and how things have been set up, so that we are able to live from a sense of being leaders within ourselves, that of being leaders who are able to lead themselves into whatever way we are able to connect to as a goal, or role as a role to the collective desire of empowerment. All right, give me a second. I'm going to take a look at the notes. It's 19 minutes now, so I'm just going to go on for another couple minutes, and um, then I'll say my goodbyes. Yeah, so really, I was talking here. I was writing about revenge, and I was also today, or was it today? No, it was yesterday. I had written about keeping an eye on your energy flow, and that is kind of what I was talking about here. Yeah. So for the most part, the big picture of it is exactly what I just said. Keeping an eye on where your energy is flowing. The awareness that this channel is here to bring upon you, and so that you can bring it upon yourself on a continual basis, is to remember that we are just in the process of engaged in an energetic process where we are ourselves energetic beings whose energetic nature is really shifting at this period of time, but it needs to shift so that we can engage in those ways that meet the evolving nature of choices that the human being is at right now. Now, it could be said, this is not to negate the fact that there are ways of um, there are ways in which the human will be choosing to devolve. But if you're here on this channel, it's because we are on the course of evolving. And so in that way, we you have to be careful not to allow yourself to devolve into more and more of what was that wasn't working, and rather um, so that you are evolving into more and more of that which you were always designed to experience. And so they want me to end with this leadership. The last video was about sovereignty, and it was about learning how to be. And the beginning of this video is really about how I've come into my sense of beingness in that more the most concrete way that I have so far been able to engage um, in this process here of my lifetime unfolding. I'm at this point where my sense of beingness is really connected to my soul's perspective of beingness, in that way that I can check back and forth whenever it is that I'm engaged in a experience. I can check in with my soul and see whether or not it is in alignment to my soul's purpose. I can see when my ego is being massaged. I can see when, and it's not a bad thing either. I mean, it's just to be aware of what it is that's happening, so that I can decide whether or not I want to continue that or not. Do we want to, for example, do you want to continue feeling as though you're wanting to push against things and avenge things and force things to change, when in actuality things don't change in that way? Things don't change you're because you're adding more energy to them. It actually keeps them going. And we're waking up from the insanity of all that. We're not keeping, we're not allowing insanity to continue to flow through us. And this is what this channel is here engaged in, this process of awakening from the insanity that has been constructed from our attachments to the concepts of the mind, concepts which no longer belong within the construct of the reality that is unfolding through us. And in many ways, what we talk about here will be so relevant to your day to day experience of living that it cannot be ignored anymore. Things of this nature, where we're looking at how spirituality is the balancing force, in that it creates a more whole picture of what the reality of existence is in the first place, that it cannot be ignored anymore as a subject. In many ways, this is probably the biggest topic of all um, that has been blocked from that we have blocked from receiving because of all of the different beliefs surrounding it that would keep us from entering into it. Beliefs, false beliefs about death and dying, false beliefs about justice. We don't get justice by creating more pain and suffering. All of these things. We don't die really. We're eternal beings. So there's so many topics to cover that I'm sorry if sometimes I sound like I'm like all scatterbrained. I'm trying to put it all together, and in many ways, I am doing it the best way that I can. And I just wanted to say thank you again for giving me the support at this period of time, that sense of support that I'm asking for and I'm calling for, in that way that this mission will be supported, so that we walk together into a world that is constructed, that will be a display of beauty, of breathtaking beauty. Was that a sentence? Until next time.